Welcome back. We are talking pantry staples today. I really want to talk about what we need to have in our pantry so that if there's an emergency, we have what we need for at least a small amount of time. There's a lot of hunger going on throughout the world right now, even in places where they typically don't experience hunger, which is a little scary, seeing that that's, really not that far off from something that could be reality for anyone at any time for any reason. Any reason from someone loses a job to something bigger in the world happens. So I want to talk through what we should be stocking up in our pantries, tried and true things that were stocked up even in the Great Depression. I know we've been talking about that a lot recently just because I find it so fascinating what people would cook back then. I like cooking from scratch. So I did look up some information from the Great Depression and I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was super interesting. Also, I want to shout out Barb who said, love these Depression era foods. Also, Carrie, could you please do 1 to 2 videos on canning and food preservation in Depression times? Thank you so much, Barb. So Barb, this video is for you. We were talking about canning that we can do now, things that they did then. So let me get into talking about all of the goodies and then we will also talk through some really cool history. The first item that you should have and stock up in your pantry for emergencies is canned vegetables. Whether you have canned vegetables from the store or you can your own vegetables, both are a great option, but these are so great for providing nutrients. They have a long shelf life, about 1 to 2 years shelf life. Heck, you could push it further. It's just the nutrients goes down since then. Realistically, they don't ever go bad. These ones I canned in October of 2023. It's currently, May of 2025. So we're coming up on 2 years for these carrots. But canned vegetables are a great way for nutrition. They're also super quick and easy to make a meal. So what I like to do is keep these stocked in my pantry and I rotate through all of my stock. I don't have any stock that I keep in the pantry for emergencies. All of my food is for always, and I just work through it and replenish as I need to because I always want to have enough food in my pantry for when I need it. On the same line as canned vegetables, you could also do a dehydrated or a freeze-dried vegetable. These I don't use as often, but you use them the same way as the canned vegetables, just have to rehydrate them first. Another great option. And now you'll notice through all of this, we're not going to talk about anything related to freezing because freezing is just not something that's sustainable if you were to be in any type of emergency. Next on the list is none other than canned meat. Protein is such a hugely important thing in our diets, and to have canned meat, hi Milo. Protein is such an important part of our diet, and if you are someone who eats meat, this is very important to have on your pantry shelf. I have some tuna over here. I don't can my own tuna, I just buy it from the store. Pouches or cans, and then I can pork and I can chicken. It is so quick, easy, and convenient to make a meal with canned meat. Everything canned is so quick and easy and convenient, right? But canned meat, just dump it into whatever you're making. It's already cooked. You don't have to spend the time cooking it. And with what I have in my pantry, this whole shelf is meat. Plus I've got a few of these over here. I have enough meat for a little while that's just canned. Of course I freeze too, but if there's an emergency, I will be pulling my meat out of the freezer and canning it so that way we can sustain ourselves for even longer. And of course, emergencies don't necessarily mean some big thing, the world is exploding. It could be something as simple as you can't afford your electricity and so you don't have food in the freezer. So anything shelf stable is the way to go. Now let's dive into a little bit of the history because I have found that so fun. I've never really been one who's big into history, but this is it was cool to see because I feel like the Great Depression is kind of the era that I kind of relate to most with my style of cooking. It's just a little bit more old-fashioned and it's kind of like spend the least amount of money to get the biggest bang for your buck. It kind of all really fits. So this, I will link this down below. This is from the nal.usda.gov and it says the canning center movement was accelerated by the widespread decrease in farm income and progressive unemployment in towns and cities which threw millions of people upon the relief rolls. I don't know what upon the relief rolls means, unless that means millions of people needed relief, but a decrease in farm income and progressive unemployment, that sounds not great. We don't want farms to lose their income. We don't want unemployment to be down. It also says community canning centers provided rural communities with communal access to equipment like pressure canners, which might otherwise have been cost prohibitive. These centers also increased the safety in home canning through supervision by trained staff, which assisted in adherence to proper safety measures of that time. That is a game changer. That is so neat. I know a lot of people do not can their own food because there's kind of a huge startup cost for this. You have to buy the jars, you have to buy all the equipment, the lids, you have to get a canner, a pressure canner, because in today's day, pressure canning is the safe way to can meats. So to have like an extension office where you could just go, you could do it, people would help provide you with what you needed to do it, and they would also be there to walk you through it and train you on it, that seems so cool. I think that would be so neat to have today, though I'm not sure there would be that much of a drive for people to want to go to it. But I think if we ever ended up in scary times, I hope they bring something like that back. Now, this website also, if you go back a page or forward a page, you can get to World War I or World War II. This is just right in the middle, but I just found that so interesting. The next most important thing to keep stocked up is all different types of grains. Whatever grains your family eats, rice, let's see, what do we got? Noodles, quinoa, barley, any grain that Milo, sorry if you're shaking, the cat's shaking the camera. Any grain that your family eats, keep it stocked up. Good rule of thumb is to have at least a month's worth stocked up, but if you can get even more stocked up, that would be fantastic. Grains a lot of times are more on the cheaper side to try to stock up. Grains are very filling, very versatile. You could use them in, Milo. Grains are very filling, they're very versatile. You could use them in so many different types of meals. Milo just needed some attention. You could use them in casseroles, you could use them in stir fries, you could use them in soups, you could use them in almost any meal that you're trying to make. Heck, spaghetti. You can use grains in so many things. Dried pasta and dried grains have huge shelf lives, and you can keep them on your shelves as long as you need them. And in an emergency, realistically, how much do we care if something's a little bit stale, right? Next up is canned soups and stews. Does not need to be home canned soups and stews. This could be soups and stews that you buy directly from the store. We all want a convenient meal that's really quick to throw together, and canned soups and stews are just that. You just open the can, whatever kind of can it is, and you're ready to go. Of course, we'd prefer it heated, but even if you don't have any means to heat it, this is a full meal, and this is a full meal. This is stew, this is a soup. I always have some type of a full, quick and easy meal on hand, even if it's just throwing together a few different jars all at once. You don't necessarily have to have them canned in one jar, but it is super convenient to have it all in one jar because everything is together. Next up is beans. Beans are higher in protein, and dried beans last for forever, and you can turn around and can them. So I've got chickpeas here, I've got black beans. I have bigger amounts of beans that I usually keep down here, and they are there. I just didn't want to pull the big bag out, so I pulled the little bag out to show you. But dried beans last forever. Just boil them in water to cook them. It takes a while, but the convenience of being able to store these just on your pantry shelf and have them for when you need them. I mean, they say beans and rice for a reason, right? High protein, got some starch, keeps you full. So beans are the way to go. Keep them stocked up in your pantry, if you eat beans, of course. Can I hold all of this? You guys, next up is shelf-stable milk of any kind. I have many kinds of shelf-stable milk here, and shelf-stable milk is great because you can use it in your cereals, you can use it to bake with, you can use it in, gosh, your stir fries. I like to keep powdered milk on hand at all times, and actually I need to buy more because that's all I have in my house. But powdered milk is great for baking. That's pretty much what I use powdered milk for, is baking. I also like to keep, I've got some coconut milk that we use for cereal, drinking, stuff like that, soy milk. I recently got milk like this that's cow's milk that was shelf stable, just in smaller containers. It doesn't last quite as long, so I'd suggest going for a non-dairy if you're going for liquid. And then of course you could go for a canned milk as well, like a coconut milk, not necessarily for drinking, but if you needed to, you could. Next up is canned fruit. Now this, truth be told, is not fruit, it's a vegetable. It's zucchini, and it's zucchini pineapple, but I will show you my canned fruit. I only have a little bit right now. But any canned fruit or canned vegetable that's like a canned fruit is great because you can use it in desserts, or you could just use it as like a sweet treat, because we always want a sweet treat, probably no matter what's going on in our lives. So super nutritious, lots of vitamins in them, and we can use it for baking or just snacking. And here we've made it over to the fridge where I have some mandarin oranges and sliced pears. Yes, I keep my canned fruit in the fridge because then it'll be cold when I eat it. I don't really like eating room temperature fruit from a can, if that makes sense. So of course, no need to can it yourself if you don't have access to a canner, or if you don't want to can, or if you just don't really like the texture, you could buy it like this. I actually prefer canned fruit from the store to canning my own fruit. What I've found when I've canned my own fruit is there just really isn't any flavor to it and it gets super mushy. So I don't know how to correct that. So if you know, let me know down below. What's the best way to can your own fruit to keep a little bit more of that texture, to get it more like the fruit that you would get from the store? Of course, we can't forget about all of the dried goods that we need for baking. We've got our flour, our sugar, our baking powder, our baking soda, our salt, starches of all different kinds. Of course, chocolate chips isn't counted in here, but if you want a little treat, keep some chocolate chips too. All of these ingredients last for such a long time, and they are so helpful if you need to make your own pancakes or bread or literally anything. You could have fresh made products as long as you have a way to cook it, either a fire or in an oven if we're lucky enough to still have an oven going at that point. As long as you have some source of heat, you'll be able to make something with these ingredients, even if it's just making pancakes over a fire, which kind of sounds cool. I wonder if those would get a cool flavor. All of these items that we use to cook for are such foundational items for like anything that we really want to make. I use these so often in all of the different, not only like things that I cook, but if you're making something that's like a gravy, you would use either flour or a cornstarch. And not only are they the foundational items that go into these meals, they're very easy to just keep up on your shelf. Definitely something that I like to keep stocked up on. Something else that you'll want to stock up on that's really helpful if you are really needing to cook everything from scratch on your own is broth. You can either buy it liquid form or can it liquid form, or use something like a bouillon cube. These are great for adding flavor because if we're in an emergency situation, yes, we would eat whatever, but wouldn't it be a little bit better with a little bit of flavor? So I like to keep both of these in stock at my house. I prefer to have the canned liquid, but a lot of times that can just take up a lot more space. I mean, I have a whole shelf of just my canned broth, and that's probably less broth than I have in these two containers. So depending on your space and your preference, stock up on one or the other, and then you could have delicious tasting noodles or rice or soups or stews or any of the above. Another thing that we don't want to skimp on is having spices in your house. If there's an emergency and you need to be cooking everything from scratch, spices really help elevate a dish, any dish. And so having even just the basics, your salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, if you have spices, you can make such a world of difference. And this, I know, is not a realistic way to keep spices for everybody, so I wanted to show you down in my pantry what all of my spices actually look like. I do have all of these duplicated and up here, but this is where I keep my extras. So spices, super important to be able to have delicious food in any type of an emergency, and they last pretty much forever. They might not taste as good, but they will still work. All right, guys, there you have it. That was 10 essential pantry staples that you should be stocking up on. Great for emergencies, very versatile, cost effective, and they store at room temperature, which is fantastic. So you can have food whenever you need it. If you have other suggestions of items that we should be stocking up on that do not require refrigeration or freezing of any type, leave them down below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'd love to see you. Most of you aren't subscribed, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.